p.m., and I am so pleased to once again be a part of this evening. This is an organization that has touched my heart for the good that it does. Many of you are going to be learning throughout the evening all of the wonderful families that have been touched through this foundation. It is help that comes at the most dire moments of people's lives, and there's going to be a lot of tears, so make sure you have some tissues handy because we have some amazing stories of the families that have been helped by the Family First Foundation. And so I would like to begin this evening's program by inviting up to the stage Paki Kelly to open the program for us.
Good evening. Thank you so very much for that nice introduction, Valerie. I want to welcome everybody tonight. I'm Paki Kelly. Some of you may know my husband, Brian. He coaches a football team a little south of here. Unfortunately, he was unable to be here tonight, but the Kinzler family has a very special place in our heart. So together, Brian and I started the Kelly Cares Foundation, and our staff is happy to be here this evening to support the great work that the Kinzler Foundation is doing. Christy, you had a vision, and it's heartwarming to see this room so full of amazing people, all here to support the Foundation's mission. It's truly inspiring. Allow me to introduce Dan Dashevsky, who will lead us in tonight's blessing. Enjoy the evening, and God bless, and all the work that's coming forth.
Let's pray together, shall we? Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together as a family, as friends, as the greater Foundation family. And Lord, I just thank you for your word, even as you challenged us in the book of Mark when the scribe asked you, Lord, so many laws, what's the greatest of these? And you responded, frankly, that we are to love the Lord our God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our strength. But you didn't stop there. You then told us to love our neighbors as ourselves. So Lord, we come before you. We are loving our neighbors. We thank you for this foundation that pours their love into their neighbors who are hurting. We thank you for the good that can come out of it. I just thank you for these people who made it a priority to be here tonight. And Lord, we thank you for our speaker. Thank you for the ministry of this foundation. And I just ask that you would prepare hearts to give tonight yet toward this cause, so that we can love our neighbors in ways that we can't do individually, but as a group we can meet needs and see smiles and victory in times of sorrow. We thank you for your love for us. We thank you the things you provide for us. We thank you for this food. We know it's going to be delicious. And just as you bless this time together, may we have sweet fellowship. And we thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name, amen.
I would like to once again welcome you to the Jason Kinzler Family First Foundation. Many of you who are here tonight are friends and were friends with Jason and his wife Christy, and were devastated to learn of his sudden death in May 2011 while running the Fifth Third Riverbank Run. Always the athlete, Jason was the picture of health and fitness, and there was never a reason to believe that he wasn't going to be with us for many, many years. Unfortunately, an unknown heart condition took him from his wife, Christy, their 3 beautiful children, and numerous friends and family members. The idea for the Jason Kinzler Family First Foundation was forged. It's a foundation based in love, honoring a memory, giving other grieving families the chance to focus on what's important during a very difficult of the Family First Foundation.
I am Sarah Finch, and I lost my husband 9 months ago, Charles Finch. I have 3 kids. Isabella is 8, Charlie is 6, and Anastasia is 5. My husband, Charlie, I met him, I think, a week after my 21st birthday, and we were together ever since. We just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary last July. He was the happiest guy you could ever meet. He loved his job, loved his family, loved his kids. Always made me laugh and just was a supporter and just a great, great guy. Sunday, had a great night, took the kids to church camp, and we had just like an hour. We sat on the porch and watched the storm roll in, and went and picked up the kids. We watched a movie that night, and then Monday morning I got a knock at the door, and it was probably 7 o'clock, and I was a police officer. He said, "Do you know Charlie Finch?" I said, "Yeah, it's my husband." He said, "Okay, I need you to come out onto the porch." And so I went out onto the porch and still didn't get it. And he said, "There's been an accident." And I said, "Okay, where is he?" And he said, "He's gone." That night, I was able to finally see him with his parents. And I remember taking the kids in the backyard and telling them that their dad was gone. My friend Tabitha, that works at Mercantile, introduced me to Ray Dimestra and the Kinzler Foundation. When you're 32 years old, you don't ever have a plan that you're going to be burying your spouse financially or emotionally. You know, life goes on. You still have bills to pay. You still have your mortgage to pay. You still have your car payments. The main source of income is no longer there. The Kinzler Foundation is what helped me make my house payment, put food on the table, while we waited for other things to come through. That put me at ease. I just was able to focus on my family. I would want people to know that even though sometimes it's hard to ask for help, this is an amazing foundation. It gave me the time to spend with my family and to get us back into a routine, a new normal. I wish more people knew about it. I just want to thank the Kinzler Foundation for giving us time to heal from me, Isabella, Charlie, and Anastasia. Thank you for everything you've done for my family.
Hello, thank you. It definitely puts a lot of perspective on what families are going through, what they go through when they experience a sudden loss. And the Family First Foundation is just that. It is about putting family first, finding a way to ease the worries of anything that might be on your mind, and just hugging your loved ones and knowing you have the time and the ability to do that in the moments that you need to do it the most. Next, I'd like to introduce Hannah Kinzler, Jason's daughter. And she has a special message about what the Kinzler Family First Foundation means to her.
I'm excited to stand here before you tonight, honored to share with you an amazing woman who inspires me every day. She has a strong passion for helping others, whether it be a family member, a friend, the kids she counsels at school, or even a complete stranger. She will go above and beyond to lend a hand. She is a resilient woman who is kind, compassionate, and has an understanding for others. Over the past 5 years, she has led our family through difficult times, always putting family first. She has turned something so sad into something so powerful. She has shown my brothers and I how to face adversity and how to be strong, kind, and happy. She has taught us that family is forever. She inspires others to see a vision, follow her leadership, creating a legacy that I hope to continue carrying out someday. I am honored to introduce to you my mom, the Executive Director of the Jason Kinzler Family First Foundation, Christy Kinzler.
Thank you, Hannah Kay. I am honored to stand in front of you and share our story. Some of you may be hearing about us for the first time. Many of you have been with us from the beginning. And some of you are here because, through circumstance, you have a special connection. Being here tonight. Let me take you back to a cool, crisp morning, May 14th, 2011. 3 kids, 3 different directions, and my husband Jason was running the third Riverbank run in hopes of beating his time from the year before. Jake, our oldest son, and I had just arrived home from a soccer game with just enough time to switch into baseball gear, have lunch, and be at the field. My phone rang. At that moment, instantly, life as we knew it would never, ever be the same. A life that I loved, a life that I thanked God for every day, a life spent with a man I'm so proud to call my husband. Jason died that Saturday morning of a heart attack, 14 miles into the race, 1 mile from the finish line. One can never prepare themselves for what is left behind when something so tragic and unexpected happens. There really are no words. 4 months from that day, I took a full-time counseling position at Godwin Heights Middle School. Ironically, on my first day of work, the principal asked me to speak with a 6th grade class about a tragedy that had happened over the weekend. One of their classmates' father had passed away of a heart attack. In the days and the weeks that followed, I had the privilege of getting to know this young boy and his sweet mama. And I came to realize that although we had many similarities with both losing our husbands so unexpectedly, we also had many differences. As I learned more about the family's needs, it was brought to my attention that they did not have life insurance or health insurance, which limited their ability to pay for funeral expenses, in addition to the multiple bills that needed to be paid. The family no longer had their primary source of income coming in. Part of my job as a school counselor is to look to community and or outside resources to help in situations such as this. Unfortunately, what was discovered is that there really was not any financial assistance available for this family under these circumstances. It was about that same time that a group of Jason's closest friends and coworkers, Mercantile Bank, approached me and shared that they wanted to form a team to run in Jay's honor at the upcoming Riverbank Run. Their idea was to run and raise money for an education fund for my children. This was so incredibly generous, but we were going to be okay. And I had just witnessed firsthand that there were families in our community who were also dealing with unexpected loss but did not have financial resources to assist them during such a difficult time. At the end of the day, I cannot imagine how I would have been able to cope or help my children cope with the trauma of losing my husband, their father, if I would have had to worry about how I was going to pay for a funeral or a mortgage or put food on the table. I shared with the group that I absolutely loved their idea about forming a running team, Team Kinzler, but my vision of Jay's legacy was slightly different, and I wanted to take things in another direction. I shared with them the story about the young boy at school and how I truly believed that there was a need in our community for families who suddenly or unexpectedly lose a parent or a primary caregiver. Then I talked to them about wanting to start a foundation in my husband's honor that would help families who are going through what my family experienced, but did not have the support that we were so fortunate to have from family, friends, and the community. They listened to my ideas, my vision, and I recall there were more than a few tears. And from that moment forward, they were 110% in. And that is how the Jason Kinzler Family First Foundation was born. We established a board with an amazing group of people, all who believe in my vision, who it represents, and what it stands for. Each of these individuals have been by my side since day one, and they are all still with me here tonight. We worked very hard in those beginning months at making sure that everything was in place so we would be able to help families in need. Well, we're still working very hard. Since its inception, I am very proud to say that we have helped 40 families in the West Michigan area and have been able to provide financial assistance of over nearly $200,000. We are honored to have 6 of those families in attendance with us here tonight. This foundation has become so much more than carrying forward Jason's legacy. As we have watched it grow into what it is today, it is not only helping families who have experienced unexpected loss, it has also become this incredible gift for my children. To be able to not just tell Hannah, Jake, and Josh about what their dad believed in, family first, putting others before self, but to show them through the eyes of the families that we are helping just what an amazing man their father was is so very special. And as their mom, I want nothing more than for them to grow up to be kind-hearted, compassionate, and loving individuals, just like their dad. Thank you for coming tonight, for listening to our story, and for all of the support and the encouragement that so many of you have already given. If you're hearing this story for the first time, welcome to our family. Family is what this beautiful foundation represents, and I am so very proud to be sharing that with you all tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Every year when I hear you speak, it's so hard for me to hold back the tears, knowing that you were able to overcome so much grief and do something so positive and so wonderful for our community, touching so many families' lives. So by now you probably have a much better idea of what the Family First Foundation is all about. And I'd like to introduce to you April Kavanaugh, who wanted to share in person her story of how the foundation helped her.
Good evening. My name is April Kavanaugh, and I cannot tell you what an honor it is to be here tonight to share our story. Now, I gotta be honest with you, these events are still fresh, and it's still kind of hard for me to talk about. But I just could not pass up the opportunity, number one, glorify God for getting us through this. Second was to show my deepest appreciation to the Jason Kinzler Family First Foundation. And then third, to thank you, the remarkable people who support such a noble and worthy cause. 1 year ago, I was 37 weeks pregnant with our fourth child. I was rocking out to the radio in the kitchen, cooking dinner, waiting for my husband to come home from work. Suddenly came a knock at the door, and there was a man from his work, and he informed me that my husband had been in a car accident. Of course, my heart started pounding, and the world began to spin, and I wobbled my big old belly over to the rocking chair on the front porch and started making some phone calls. All I can say is thank God for amazing neighbors, because they just jumped into action, helped me pack, they took care of my children, and they drove me to the hospital an hour away. When I got to the hospital, it had been 2 hours since the accident, and the trauma care unit was still trying to stabilize my husband. When I got into that hospital room, I found my husband lying face up in a hospital bed, absolutely covered in multicolored tubes and wires. They had done their best to clean him up, but he still had blood crusted around his nose and lips. They had shaved a portion of his hair and inserted a tube into his brain to relieve the pressure in the fluid. His face was puffy, and he had 2 prize-fighter black eyes. The room was dark, and the only sound was the rise and fall of his chest from the breathing machine. For 10 days, my husband was in a coma. For 10 days, I lived in a hospitality house an hour away from my children. For 10 days, I had to force myself to eat and be calm and rest to ensure the health of the baby growing inside of me. For 10 days, I sat in that dark room and prayed and whispered and could barely touch his hand because any sound or stimulation would make his brain swell, and that could kill him. On that 10th day, David's brain began to swell without stimulation. And as the doctors took him back for a CT scan to find out what was going on, they left me with a decision to make. They said I could either choose to allow his brain to continue to swell, and he would surely pass away, or I could approve a procedure where they would remove a piece of his skull and allow the swelling to continue, and there's a 50-50 chance that he'd either pass away or that he would survive and live the rest of his life in a vegetative state. They gathered us all in the waiting room to give us the results of the CT scan, and I was just praying to the Lord, God, please give me the right answer. And then the neurosurgeon turned to us and said, I'm so sorry. There's nothing more we can do because David has had 3 strokes. On Saturday, my husband, David Kavanaugh, passed away. On Sunday, I drove home and told our children, Aiden, 10, Angelina, 7, and Alexander, 4, that their daddy didn't make it and that he wasn't going to come home. On Monday, I planned a funeral. Tuesday was the funeral. And Wednesday, I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl named Adeline Grace. Now, it was so tempting to collapse in a big ball of grief at that time, but you know what? I couldn't because there were still obstacles ahead of me. Adeline was born with a club foot and needed to see a specialist. Alexander, who is prone to asthma, had already been hospitalized 7 times in his 4 years of life. David's paycheck had yet to be deposited. His VA disability benefits, which was what paid our mortgage, stopped the moment that he passed away. I was home with a brand new baby, 3 grieving children, a mountain of mail and bills, packets of forms to fill out, phone calls to make. It took 3 months for the Social Security benefits and our life insurance to start trickling in. And that's when the Kinzler Foundation came to our rescue. They allowed us to keep a roof over our head and food in our bellies. Not only that, they provided words of comfort and some knowledge to help me during my insecure time about the future. And they provided a sincere, empathetic ear. I'd like to close with this. A few months later, I was at a restaurant, and there was a man there at the counter, and he complimented me on my new baby girl. And then he went on to comment about how sad it was that she had to be born in such a horrible world. And you know what I thought? I felt bad for him, because he had no idea how precious life really is. He had no idea how much God loves him. and he had obviously not experienced what I had, that this world is full of genuinely good people. You know, I miss my husband every single day. But thanks to people like you who have restored my faith in God and humanity, we're doing okay. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And God bless you all.
Thank you so much, April, for coming tonight and sharing that story with us. I know that I heard a lot of sniffs around the room, and that includes myself. It's these kinds of amazing stories of strength that come from the Kinzler Family First Foundation being able to help families, being able to give them that time to find grace, to find hope. And it might be a little easier now to understand why Christy wanted to start this foundation. It is such a special nonprofit, really stepping in when a family is at a loss for what to do or how they will even begin to move on. The Family First Foundation is made up of board members who are responsible for making sure every family that reaches out gets some type of financial support. And that means calling the family, meeting them, talking about what they need to get through the next few months so that they can put their family first. From funeral expenses to roof repairs to rent or utilities, the list is simply endless of how the Family First Foundation can help. So here to tell us a little bit more about the mission of the Family First Foundation is board member, friend, and former teammate, Seth Yon.
Good evening. It's hard to believe that it's been 5 years since we lost a great friend, father, husband, brother, son, co-worker, and teammate. That 5 years really forced me to think about some other numbers that have been pretty significant to us as a group that I'd like to share with you tonight. I'm going to just rattle these numbers off and I'll come back to them in just a few minutes. The number 4, 7, 40, 13, 100, 1340, 1100, 800, 550, 1388, 2230, 500, 700, 7,000, 190,000. So what do they mean? The 4 is symbolic of the number of years that we've served this community as a foundation. 7 is the active board members that participate on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. 40 is the total number of families that we've been able to assist in the West Michigan area. 13, the number of families that we've assisted since last year's dinner. Each year we've steadily grown, and we expect to grow even more significantly this year. 100 stands for the percentage of money we distributed from last year's dinner already to families in 2015-2016. 1340 is the total number of folks that have participated in our dinners over the last 3 years. 1100 is the total pounds of chicken we've served at dinner, pre-cooked. Probably not relevant, but still it's a lot of chicken. 800, the number of t-shirts, Kinzler t-shirts that we've sold and individuals are wearing. 550, the total number of racers that have run in honor of Team Kinzler. 1388, total number of social media followers. 2230, the total distance traveled for some folks that have been wonderful supporters of our foundation tonight. 500 is the rough number of hours Chad Springer puts into this event each and every year to make sure that it goes off as clean and as flawless as it does. For those of you that have put on a wedding, imagine doing it each and every year. He's not happy that I'm talking about him right now, but Chad, I'd ask that you stand and be recognized. $70. It's how much his son Max Springer weighs. Stick with me, it's more relevant than the chicken. $7,000. It's the amount that Max has raised in the last 3 years to assist families in West Michigan. I did quick math on that. It's about $100 a pound. I started to think about that from my own perspective. It's about $22,000 I should have raised. Maybe 23. Max raised over $3,000 this year in the spring running the 10K and finished in the top 25% of all racers. 70 pounds, 10 years old, and has a vision to go out and help and support other people. Max, sneak up here for a second, would you, bud? So if you know Max, you know that he's a sports nut. If you don't know Max, you now know that he's a sports nut. Our friends at the Whitecaps would like to honor him for his effort by bringing he and 25 of his closest friends to a ball game this fall, or this summer rather, on July the 5th. So Max, for all your help, your support, and your inspiration that you offer to us as a group, we all say thank you. The big one, $190,000, is the total amount of assistance that we've provided currently to West Michigan families. And that number is growing this week and going forward. But as of right now, we've distributed more than $190,000. What I love about this foundation is not the numbers, but it's about the people that we serve. We're a proud group that fully understands that sudden and unexpected loss will never have a cure. Therefore, we'll always have a need. I want to again thank all the people in this room tonight for your continued support, for all the things that we do. At this time, I'd ask that you pay your attention to the two screens and meet the Smith family. Thank you.
My name is Kaylee Salata. I work at West Godwin Elementary School as one of the school social workers. We're located in Wyoming. Danelle is the mom of Jeremy, and she was, from our perspective and being at school, everything we hoped that our parents would be for their children.
I'm Daryl Smith. I'm Benny Smith. And we're Danielle's Smith parents. Yeah, she was very outgoing. She was the type of person to make sure everybody, had something that didn't have anything. She looked out for other people.
Jeremy, their grandson, attends our elementary school here at West, and his teacher came to us and said that Jeremy's mom had passed away. That's when I met Debbie and Daryl for the first time. We communicated over the phone and explained what the Jason Kinzler Family First Foundation was all about, and kind of the support they potentially could offer.
It was me, my wife, her sister, and our oldest grandson. Oh, yeah. And we came up there to talk to you.
We met and we kind of talked about their daughter Danelle, who is Jeremy's mom, and shared stories and kind of what they were doing at the funeral home and what kind of celebration they hoped to have for their daughter. At first we didn't know what happened. We were all kind of questioning, like, we just saw her. Danelle had been complaining of headaches lately. She had some form of tumor on her brain. By the time that they brought her to the hospital, she was unable to communicate at all. So one day she went from talking and laughing and everything was really great to the next day completely nonverbal. by the time they got there and performed surgery, it was too late. And I remember Daryl sharing with me that it was at the point where he said, this isn't my baby anymore, and this isn't the way she would want to live. So they decided to end life support and just be with her for those next few moments.
At that time, when you're going through sorrow like that, you really don't expect it. And that was something that was just unexpected with her. And we really didn't have the funds to really pay for everything.
They needed the funeral expenses covered, so the Kinzler Foundation paid for all of that. They did a gift card for groceries and some help with rent. I checked in with the family like maybe a month later, and they shared with me that they were trying to pool money together and put a down payment for the headstone. I called Christy Kinzler, and she said, let me talk to the board of directors. I don't see this as being a problem. And 45 minutes to an hour later, she said, where do we need to write the check to? So it was just absolutely amazing.
It lifted off a lot of burden off of me and my wife. With us being the parents of her, it was all on our shoulders.
Knowing that in those moments, the Kinzler Foundation is able to provide a relief. The moments that the family can have together after that are moments of grief together or moments of celebration.
We say this from the bottom of our heart. Thank you so much, and it's been a blessing to have y'all come into our lives and continue to do the good job that y'all doing for other families. And thank you so much. Thank you.
I have one more young man that I'd like to call up to stage, who is a wonderful young man and good friend, Jake Kinzler. Jake, we're all extremely proud of how you carry yourself in the classroom, the athletic field, at home most of the time. The work and effort and inspiration that you offer to us as a group of adults running this foundation. He, along with Josh and Hannah, will certainly play a significant role in this foundation, every bit as long as this foundation will play a significant role in our community. At this time, I'd like to welcome Jake and his brother Josh Kinzler to the stage.
Hi, my name is Jake Kinzler. My dad is Jason Kinzler. Anyone who knew him would tell you that he always had a great big smile. He was very kind, caring, and loving towards others. He demonstrated that in every interaction he had with family, friends, or even a stranger. Many people have shared with me that the impact that he had on their lives and that they will never forget him. He was not only my dad, but he was my best friend, and we enjoyed the same interests. We would often share our views about players, teams, and who the winners were. We agreed on most sports except for baseball. We loved going to Lions games together. We were both huge fans. We attended 10 games, and they only won once. But we enjoyed just being together. Another interest we had was going to the UP, fishing at my grandparents' cottage near Escanaba. I remember a time we were fishing for 2 days in a row, and I wasn't catching much. I had to go catch a pike, and a few minutes later, my dad caught a small pike. I asked him, why did you get to catch it and not me? He replied with a smile, probably because the big ones are waiting for you. The next day, I caught an 18-inch pike. I was so excited, and so was he. I miss him so much. Last month, I had the opportunity to spend some time with Coach Fleck at Western Michigan University. What I appreciated most about our visit was that he wanted to hear from me who my dad was and what he meant to me. Coach Fleck also introduced me to the mantra, row the boat. If you're not familiar with this, you should be. We all should be. It emphasizes perseverance, determination, and to never, ever give up. I immediately connected with this. For me, nothing is tougher than growing up without my dad, but I will continue to row the boat each and every day as an honor to him. Every time our foundation helps a family in need, we are carrying out my dad's legacy. I'm honored to introduce you tonight, my friend, Coach P.J. Fleck.
Thank you, Jake. Josh. Well, I'm not D'Antonio, I'm not Harbaugh. I've heard a lot of that today. So here's what we're going to do. I'm not Coach Kelly. We've heard a lot of that today. Spent some time at Amway as well. So tonight I'm everybody's head coach. So let's just make a deal. I can't say the other name in Mount Pleasant, so I won't say them. And I've been asked if I'm all these types of coaches. I am me. Okay, so you get stuck with the Western Michigan head football coach. But, correct, you've got a few out there, absolutely. But tonight, I'm all your head coach. So we're all on the same team. We're all the same family tonight. There are no logos. It's us together with the same fight, the same organization together. I am extremely honored to be here. That is not just a speech. That's not just me saying that to you. That's not just a speaker talking to the group. I have never been through more emotional time at my table and then have to speak at it. I'm used to firing up teams. Right? I'm used to firing up teams, and everybody's wanting to listen to what you have to say, and you're kind of the highlight speaker. You've already been motivated. There's no reason for me to even be here. Max should be up here talking just like me. And Max, you can put me down for $1,000. You put that right as your start, okay, for next year. And that one's specifically going in your envelope. So you're already $1,000 ahead, pal. That means we're expecting $8,000 this year. Welcome to college coaching. A lot of you have asked, why am I here? I think we all share the same purpose in what if. I think that's a huge word for all of us. What if that would happen? It's easy to sit there and think of your family as, it won't happen to me. And as a young coach and a young person and a young husband, I have 4 kids of my own, I couldn't imagine the day that I'm not there. We're not designed to think that way. We plan, but as a young person, you're not thinking about planning. You're thinking about right now. It's easier when you're a little bit older and you have your life insurance set up and you have all these policies set up for your kids and you're living your life for your kids and you have time to do that. When it's taken away from you so quick, it's devastating, as you heard with all the stories. It's amazing how the good Lord works, and I work for a public institution, so I'm not allowed to really talk about God very much, but I'm really not wearing or representing Western Michigan tonight. I'm representing all of you. And a while back, a young man by the name of Ryan Fisher passed away. Hockey player, Granville. And my wife, Heather, who is here tonight as well, we're watching the news. And out of nowhere, something hit me and said, you know what, Heather? I've got to go to that wake. Now, we hear stories on the news all the time, and what coincidence would it be that I'm going to go to that wake? They don't know me, I don't know them. But I feel something obligated enough as a head football coach and as a person who's lost a child to be there. Whether they know who I am, not know who they am, I'm going to get there before the big line is and just say I'm here for you. Little did I know years later that Ryan skated for Jason. And then Jason passed away. And then Ryan and Jake became buddies. And then Ryan passed away. And now I got a fishing buddy. Ain't that right, Jake? These little frog lures that we're using. Ain't that right? right? And you throw them on the lily pads, you skip to the lily pads, those bass come out and bite them, but there's a good technique. I promise you, you're going to start catching fish. And somebody asked me, why am I here? I said, I'm connected. What are the chances, what are the odds, and nothing by coincidence, that I was connected to the Kinzler Foundation and the Fisher family immediately. And if you don't believe in faith, after that, or the stories that you're hearing, I don't know if you ever will. And it's very, very powerful. And I'm very honored to be up here. Truly, truly honored. I'm really not worthy to be up here. But to listen to all of the stories, what I could possibly do for the next 10 minutes is to interject energy into you to do more, do something. Be more involved, get others involved. Because that's what I do for a living. I spread leadership, I spread joy, I teach, I educate. I have an elementary education degree, and I taught 6th grade social studies. That's who I am. I don't know how I became a head football coach and this big public figure and be talked about on national news and all these other things, but I'm going to use it to my advantage as long as I possibly can. And I'm very, very honored to be here. I have a little bit of a PowerPoint that I will start with. So Matt, if you put that up there. Life's really about two things that I've truly learned in my life. It's about two words, and we've heard a lot of them today. It's about two things, perspective and response. So if you get caught up on our own lives, you get caught up in our busy schedules, we lose sight of our perspective. We have a different perspective. Society tells us what our perspective should truly be, and then when things happen to us, our response isn't what it truly should be. See, we have a saying in our program, life's tough. That's the baseline. You know, no matter what, the baseline is tough. That's the bottom. It gets tough. But for everything that truly happens to you, there is a positive outcome somehow, some way, if your perspective is right. And not only your perspective, but after the events, your response is amazing. And that's what the Kinzler Foundation is all about. It's about the response. And how quickly they put family first. And we who haven't been through that part don't know how precious that is until you're in that. But we can gain perspective from these types of events. I've learned a long time ago that I treat my players, I treat anybody who comes into contact with me, I demand people to fail around me. Young people these days, they don't have enough adversity. They don't get faced with a lot of choices these days. People make it for them. They have an instant gratifying type society. I used to have to actually listen to my dad and believe my dad for information or look it up in an encyclopedia. And if it wasn't in there, I had to take his word for it and say, that's probably right. Kids aren't the same these days. They're not used to failing. They're not used to adversity. We define failing in our program as growth. So if the bottom baseline's tough, anything that happens to you, good or bad, if it's good, you're learning from success. If it's not, then you're learning from failing. We demand people around us to fail on a daily basis because failing equals growth. Failure equals quit. Big difference. The families that I spoke today are about resilience, resolve, never giving up, never quitting. Faced with the toughest adversity, understanding I have to give birth. My life will go on, and I have to be here for my children. That's an incredible will to live and to respond to adversity. Go ahead, Matt. We call it the how. See, I don't care what you do or how much money you have or where you are in your career. What interests me in people and all of you is, how'd you get there? See, sometimes we're born into something. We're born into money. We're born into success. We're born into a name, and that's what we got and where we're at. And we're considered a success. What drives me and what drives the people around me and the way I talk to people is your how, your story, your heart, your soul, your serving, your giving, your passion. Our program is about two things, serving and giving. It's not about anything else. Our program is not about our players. Our program is not about me. I know a lot of you probably say, boy, you're all a Western Michigan coach. He's really out there. He really loves himself. I see him on the news all the time. It's not about me. It's about serving and giving to others and giving them perspective and response. But my how comes from energy. I'm a very energetic guy. Where does my energy come from? My energy comes from love. And there's no greater love than a relationship. There's no greater love than a husband and a wife. Husband and wife's loves for their children. And we've all had adversity at some time in our life. And no one's here to judge what the adversity levels are. But your how and your response are everything. A little bit of my story. I'm the king of the twos. Too small, too short, too slow, too young. I'm finally not the youngest head coach in the country. I finally gave that up. But I'm the king of the twos. So I always had a scrap fight for everything that I got. I played in the National Football League as a runt. But I was raised, and my how story was, I was on the driveway shooting hoops. Until it got dark, my dad would ask me, do you want me to put the lights on the house or drive my car up the driveway so you could shoot the hoops? He put the choice on me. Because I knew everybody else on my team was way better than me because they were 10-year-olds and I was 8. He always found a way to put me on a different team. But that's what drove my how. My service, my giving. He put me around people in need all the time. About people who were way less fortunate than our family, and we grew up with no money. We didn't grow up with anything. We were a low middle-class family that really didn't have much. But he continually put perspective in my mind, and perspective is being flooded into this room by all these stories. But my energy is love, and love is everything. That's why you're here. You're here to love. You're here to give. You're here to serve. And I challenge you to do more. Do something else. Be different. People say all the time, Coach Fleck, you're a little bit different. I said, well, thank you very much. I'd like to be different. I define different as else. I don't define different as weird or doing more. I define it as I'm just someone else, and that's okay. This organization, the Jason Kinzler Foundation, and Family First, they're different. They're different from the others. It's pure. It's real. And I'm so blessed to be a part of it. I got a quick question for all of you. See, what the Kinzler Family Foundation has truly done is leave a legacy for Jason. But that's not their purpose, is to leave it for Jason. It's to give you a chance to have a legacy for your family and for other families way less fortunate than you that have an issue that maybe you haven't been through or you have experienced. But it gives you an opportunity to be legendary amongst your children. Your children will see you give and serve, and that's the greatest form of education, watching you. And the minute you do that, they attach themselves for the rest of your life. So I got a question for every single one of you. How many of you can tell me everything you know about your great-grandfather? Everything. This is kind of interactive, just so everybody knows, okay? I understand awkward silence. I'll get you through it. I'm a good icebreaker. We'll be fine. How about grandfather? Everything. If I asked you right now, you tell me everything you knew about your grandfather. Okay? A few. How about your father? Everything. If I sat you down, interviewed you, here it is, Channel 8 News, boom, they're down there interviewing about your dad. You have to listen. 2-hour talk about your dad. Go right ahead. The point of this is, when you talk about just your father, that's a 30-year gap on average. It's 30 years. 30 years from now, what is going to be your legend? For all of you who couldn't think much about your grandfather, which is really 60 years from now, or your great-grandfather, 90 years, under a century, and you think that's that far, think about the whole scheme of things of your great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren one day. What are they going to say about you? What are they going to say about the legacy that you left? See, that's one of my energy. That's my purpose in life, is I want my children to remember me. My 4 kids, I want them to remember me, not because I'm a football coach, not because I won games. I will get fired for winning games. That is my goal as a coach. That's pretty weird. But if you win 9 games at Michigan over and over, you'll eventually get fired because it's too much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the right things. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to influence as many people as I can. And hey, if I happen to win enough games to stay in it for as long as I can until they fire me, wonderful. But the purpose is different. I want to be legendary in my two sons' eyes, my two daughters' eyes, that their dad served and gave and did more for other people than he did himself. That he did even for our family. And as a coach, if you know anything about that, I spend more time raising your children than I do my own. I've learned something over the course of my life for a little perspective for you, and I'm almost done. I've learned there's a major difference between happiness and joy. And I've had to have that happen through a bunch of instances in my life. But happiness is very simple. Happiness is based on perspective. It's based on circumstance. It's based on things happening that dictate your behavior. The circumstance dictates your behavior. Something good happens to you, you're happy. Something bad, you're sad. And you're telegraphic. It's easy to figure you out. Because you're letting the circumstance of your short life dictate your behavior on a daily basis. We don't allow in our program or the players that play for us to let circumstance dictate your behavior. Remember, the baseline's life's tough. Anything that happens to you is positive somehow, some way. You will get through this and you will come out of it. But sometimes happiness won't do that for you, because with happiness, the opposite is sadness. It's hard to find the opposite of joy instantly. Joy is based on perspective of the circumstance. The perspective already that you live your life with so much joy that no matter what happens to you, you know somehow, some way, there will be a blessing on the other side. And that is not normal. That is not how human beings think. That is a trained behavior to be joyful. We as humans have to work to be joyful. Because we're made as human beings to just sit there. Everything else is a little harder for us, so we don't want to do it. Find joy in your life. I challenge every single one of you to find joy in your life. How have we found joy within our own football team? Jason Kinzler Foundation talks about family first. And here's another sign of why I'm here. We talk about family within our program. Who are we? You ask one of our players who we are, this is their response. We're family. But see, we have a definition in our culture of family that all of you can take back with you tonight, and it's very simple. See, I have family members in my family, of my football family, that don't have mom and dad. They don't have brothers and sisters. That watch mom shoot dad, dad shoot her, or mom shoot herself. Then we have the perfect suburbia couple. Dad's a doctor, mom's a lawyer, and I get them all in a room like this, and I say, we're all family, and they got to believe me. They don't know the definition of family, so our definition is very simple. Forget about me, I love you. That's what a family is. We define love in our culture as sacrifice because we're a bunch of football players. We're tough, we're mean. And our number one thing in our program is service, giving, and love. Wow, that sounds like a real tough team. But we define love for them as sacrifice. You are sacrificing your life, your time, to be here today, your money, your financial status, time with your kids. You're sacrificing that because you have love. You have energy behind something. This cause, the Kinzler Family Foundation, Southwest Michigan. I have never coached or played in a community more giving than Southwest Michigan. And that is a fact. High philanthropy, service, giving. I've never been anywhere in my entire life. This is one of the most family-type communities I've ever been in, and that's really why I haven't left. People say, Coach, why haven't you left? Because it's truly family here. But forget about me, I love you. That's who we are as a culture. That's who you are as a group of people set here today. You are the Kinzler family, period. And Christy, I hope you have peace in your heart understanding that this is your family. And Jake and Josh and your kids, and I hope everybody understands that. So that's who we are as a culture, and that's how it tied to you. I said it's a home run. And the last but not least is, well, what do we do now from here? because you got this family, so what do we do now? Everybody always comes into my office because guess what? No one comes into my office and says, Coach Fleck, you're just doing a great job. I love working for you. Some kids don't come in there and say, Coach, I just love you. When that door opens as a head coach or as a member of your family, and there's a knock at your door as you open, and there's one of your kids standing there with an issue, and he's got paint all over his face, or markers, or he's bleeding, and you're sitting there, okay, what happened? There's an issue coming to the parent. There's an issue coming, and you're being summoned to basically fix it. So what do you do? So what do we do now? Well, in our culture, here's what we do. We row the boat. Row the boat has nothing to do with football, and that was by design. It took over a program that has one championship in 100 and some years, and no bowl wins in 100 and some years. Sounds like a great opportunity to leave the NFL for, doesn't it? Sure does. But the whole basis behind Row the Boat is a never give up mantra. And it started February 9, 2011, when I held my son as he took his last breath. And the reason why I give back so much, or just at least do my best to be anywhere I possibly can and find organizations that I can be around, is because of that. And as you hold your son or a family member, you lose a family member that close to you, it changes your life forever. It makes you see and think about things that have never happened to you. But when you row a boat, it's very simple. Again, nothing to do with the Bronco, nothing to do with football. Our culture, our program, it really has nothing to do with wins or losses. That's the way I want it. When you row a boat, your back is to the future. The front of the boat is actually behind you. We're not pedaling. Don't ever look at me and go like this. I'm going to ignore you. You got to row. Okay? But it's behind you. That's the future. You have no idea what's coming. And a lot of us tonight are going to walk out of here very emotional, and you're going to feel like you can do something. But then human nature is going to set in, and then in a week later, you're going to go back to your own perspective. I challenge you not to do that. You're rowing in the present, which is the only thing you can control. Your how, your energy, your service, your giving right now. That's it. That's all you can control. Whether your oar stays in the water or you take it out and you quit. You either keep failing and keep growing, or you put them back in the boat and you're a failure and you quit. That's your choice. You're looking at the past, which is the only thing you can actually control. You can't fix it. You can't change it. It's set for life. That's the past. But it's the only thing you can respond to. And it's the only thing you can truly, truly make better throughout your entire life. There's three parts of a boat, of row the boat. The first one is the oar. The oar is the energy that you bring to your life, that you bring to your children's lives, you bring to foundations' lives. People run organizations. Organizations don't run themselves. I love when young men pick schools and they say, I just like the campus. Great. Well, when you have a really tough day, lean on that building and ask the brick nice building if it'll help you. Or talk to the grass. Or climb a nice tree. People run the world. Your oar is your energy. Our symbol of energy in our program is an oar. All of you have a little oar in front of you, a little drink stir to take back. The second part is the boat. The boat is the sacrifice. It's your giving. The more you give, the bigger and sturdier your boat actually gets, and the more people you can put in it, and the more it's able to stay afloat in life. What are you willing to give up for something that you never had? If today touched you, you've got to listen to that feeling, and you have to make a difference. It is why you are here. That's the boat. And the last but not least, the last part I think is most important is the compass. And this is for all the youngsters, Jake, Josh, Max. None of this. He did that to me. He said, who's your favorite football team? I said, better be the Niners. He goes, no, Detroit Lions. I said, well, geez, been a while. He goes, but the compass is very simple. The compass is where the boat is actually pointed. That's the direction of your life. But the direction is set by the people you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with non-giving, selfish people, bad people, alcohol abusers, drug abusers, bulliers, you're going to be that. If you surround yourself with givers, service people, mentors, you're going to live an elite life. But only you control your compass. That's what makes rowing the boat so special, is that you have that choice, and everybody can row the boat. If we all row the boat in the same direction, same speed, same vision, together, think of how many more families the Kinzler Family Foundation can actually help. I'll leave you with this. I love to golf, but I only golf 3 rounds a year, 4 rounds a year. I only golf at Pebble Beach. Really tough. No, it's a coach's event. I raise money for my university, and they take us to Pebble Beach. Really tough life, but yes, I have to go. And then we're in the Western Michigan Bronco outing. But I love golf. I'm a huge golf fan. I just don't play it enough that I'd like. We had never beat a top 25 team in Western Michigan's life of 100 and some years. Just another never. And before we played Toledo, we were 6-5 this past year. They were ranked 23rd in the country. And if you go by statistics, you're probably not betting on the Broncos. So I thought we had to do something drastic. I'm a high kind of motivating type coach. I do something every single week. So I contacted Becky Burley out of University of Florida, the national champion soccer coach. She's absolutely awesome, tremendous friend of mine. Most football coaches don't want to share a lot with me, so I go to other sports. So she talked to me about this golf ball, and I said, okay, I'm going to make that mine. The history of the golf ball goes like this. The golf ball originally looked like a ping pong ball. It was smooth on all sides. Not sides, but it was all round. And they noticed every time they hit the ball, they'd mark it up, or they'd scuff it, or dent it. That every time they did that, it went a little bit farther. So what I had our players do in 15 seconds was write down everything that made them then, whether that was extremely positive or catastrophic, but led them to where they are right now. Go. 15 seconds. Because if it doesn't come in your mind in 15 seconds, it really didn't influence you that much to affect your life right now. So when I did mine, divorce came on there, losing a child, 1 in 11, that'll teach you a lot, so on and so forth. And I had my golf ball. We took all of our golf balls, we put them in this big bin. We ended up winning that game, which had never been done in program history. And if we won that game, we were going to the Bahamas. And if we lost that game, we were going to Detroit. Both great casinos. We ended up winning that game and beating the top 25 team for the first time ever in Western Michigan history. Yep, awesome. Awesome. And we did go to the Bahamas, and it was amazing, and we did win our first bowl game ever in program history. And our players, the first thing they went after we beat a top 25 team wasn't even each other. They all attacked the golf balls because they were on the sideline that sat there in a clear bin so they could see them the entire game, pass them all the time. I had pointed at them the entire game. So if you take 4 issues, circumstances, catastrophic things that have happened in their life, and you times that by 125 football players, 40 staff members, that's a lot of problems. But every one of those problems, every one of those catastrophic things that happened to us took us way further than we could ever dream of being. I really appreciate your time. It's an honor and a true honor to be around all of you, of what you're doing, and I'm so darn proud to be a part of it, and I will be part of it, I promise you this, for a very, very long time. At Western, not at Western, fired or hired, I truly believe in what you're doing, and that's why I'm here tonight. You are my heroes. People like you are my heroes. And I just want to thank you so much. Live your life to the fullest and keep rowing the boat. Thank you.